literally come up with a girl gang that was inspired by Mean Girls. And soon it fell apart. I was obviously the first one to get kicked out. I was blamed for stealing stuff. I was called a lesbian, a slut, which was a newfound lingo back then. And it was very strange for me because I hadn't even kissed anyone till then. My best friend left me because she found a new best friend. So for the longest time, I used to sit alone in class. I used to eat my lunch alone. I literally had zero friends at that time. The same people who used to follow my fashion trends now started to body shame me and started calling me names. They were anti-Akreta groups in school, and I had kind of failed in my own eyes. My grades started to fall. I stopped dancing. I had stopped playing tennis. I felt like I was being swallowed into this world of loneliness and where I completely lost myself. This is where I started losing all my self-confidence. I was leaving school. I didn't want to talk to anyone, and I just wasn't sure of what I was and what I wanted to be in life. I sometimes used to wish I wasn't so tiny, and I started hating myself for losing all my intelligence, and I just felt like I was good for nothing. Miss Popular was now hanging out with the kids that she used to make fun of, but honestly, if it wasn't for these people, I wouldn't have survived the last 2 years of high school. I don't think I had the chance to thank them enough. So you guys, you know who you are. Thank you so much for sticking by and always helping me stand back on my feet. I cried a lot thinking about these things and feeling hopeless, but now I know that this failure got me prepared for something very important that was to follow. I'm going to catch you guys in my third episode with some more failures. So I've decided to start a new series called Little Irrelevant Things, where I'm going to be talking about all the things that didn't work out in my life, all the failures that I went through, all the things that went very differently from what I had planned. I think it's so important to discuss and talk about the dips in your journeys, because we're constantly being flooded with images and stories, success stories of people from all across the world. People are traveling and having, you just see the best of everything on Instagram and all over the internet, and very few times we find people sitting down and actually talking about all the things that didn't work out in their lives and how if they hadn't made certain decisions they wouldn't be where they are today. And I think the failures and all the things that didn't work out in my life play a very important role in what I am doing today, where I am, and the person that I am today. So I thought I'd share a small incident with you guys about the time that I failed for the first time in my life. I think I was about 6 or 7 years old, and my mom had signed me up for a fancy dress competition in Appughar in New Delhi. I'd already become Mother Teresa in my school, and I'd won like the first prize for that. So I think my mom thought it was a good idea for me to participate outside of the school with a bigger like group of kids, and it'll be like better exposure or whatever. Unfortunately, I didn't end up winning anything that day, and I still remember not understanding what that really meant, and I kept asking my mom why I didn't get the 24 jelly pack that all the other kids were getting, and she just told me they ran out of it and she was going to get me some on her way back. She didn't know how to drive back then, and I remember it was really hot that day, and it was really dusty, and we were traveling in an auto rickshaw, and she asked the rickshaw driver to stop at a nearby bakery. I remember she hopped off and she ran inside and she bought me a 24 pack jelly, which I loved, by the way, at that time. And she sat there, and on her way back she asked me to tell Dad that I had won the third prize. I remember she had a really hard time to get me on that list. We went on talking about it for a month or something, and then finally they had informed her that I was on it, and she traveled like to the other end of Delhi all by herself, probably without my dad's consent. So, like, I know she had had a really hard time, and she really worked hard to get me there, and how important it was for her to tell everyone that I had done a good job and I had won, and her efforts were worth it. And I did as directed without questioning the lie. I told my dad that I had won the third prize. in the competition. Everyone was really happy. I finished the 24 jelly bag by myself. But what happened that day is I internalized the idea that failure was not taken well in my family. So I was always taught to win, to get good grades, to play all sports to win dance competitions, basically to be the best at everything that I did. My mom really worked hard on me, and I was so used to it that the idea of failing or not like coming first or not winning things was an alien concept for me. So as planned, everything went well, and I grew up to be a pretty bright kid according to my parents, and they were very proud of me in everything that I did. But what I wasn't prepared for because of this was a life that was full of failures that was awaiting me, and I had no clue how to deal with it because I never learned how to lose or fail. Honestly, I didn't even have to wait for university to start. My failure started coming in probably high school time, and there was just a lot happening at that time that I didn't know how to deal with, and that just caused the beginning of my dips that we will talk about in our next episode. Hi guys, I wanted to say this in my stories, but I think it's going to be a long talk, so I'm just going to put it out here on my IGTV. So since I got back to India, a lot of people have been commenting on my accent, and I think I'm a little uncomfortable talking about it, but I don't know, I feel this need to do that today because I'm full of negativity right now and I really need to let it out. So I'm here. So it's true that I grew up in India till I was 17, and then I moved to Toronto to study, and then I lived there for a few years. It's true I don't talk to my mom like this. We never talked like this growing up in an accent. But that's the debate for me. What is an accent? Because when I moved to Toronto, a lot of people who met me would be surprised that I just moved there, and they won't believe it, and they'd just be like, oh, you don't sound like you just moved from India. Because trust me, I was trying to catch on to a bit of the Toronto way of talking. Kilometer was becoming kilometers, esophagus became esophagus, and oregano became oregano. So I saw myself change in a lot of things, but still there were times where I met some people and they'd instantly be like, oh, you're from India, you have such a strong accent, right? So I always found myself like in two boats, and every time I would come to India, my friends would just make fun of my rolling R's or whatnot. So I really felt in the middle of things and didn't really know where I belonged, because there was this new hybrid way of talking that I had adapted, and it wasn't really Canadian or totally Indian. I probably caught on some words and some phonetics, and then it just became what I was comfortable with. So back then I used to make fun of people who were in Toronto and hadn't lived there for too long, and they used to talk in Hindi in a Canadian accent. I thought it was really amusing because I was like, oh, you haven't even lived here for this long. How did your Hindi get spoiled? But now I have come to this point that I respect people for who they are and the choices they've made for themselves. And also because I believe we're all constantly evolving as social beings. We are all products of our environments and the choices that we make. And I think we do have the right to make the choice about who we identify with, who we are in our own hearts, and who we want to be. So I tried really hard to vlog in what my Indian friends would call a normal accent, and to be very honest, it just didn't sound like me anymore. And this is what kept me from pursuing my vlogging dream for over 2 years, and it's just so sad that I wasn't confident about my own way of talking, and that kept me from saying a lot of things that I wanted to say. Then I saw some people amazing people doing what they wanted to do just the way they wanted to do it without worrying about the criticism and all the judgments that they were gonna get. And that's exactly what made me think about things and to reconsider vlogging. When I'm not really even out there yet, I'm just like putting some stories out, and I've just barely started. And I see all these people, so all of you who call me names, who call me Firangi and whatnot, and ask me where I got this in the middle accent from. I think it's from my experiences as a filmmaker, as a traveler, and as a constantly evolving social being. And I just think that if I keep getting stuck in these little things, I won't be able to say to the world all the things that I want to say. This is probably the first and the last time I'm talking about this, really to flush it out of my body and move ahead towards better things, towards more light, because I really don't have time for more shade. And a big thank you to everyone who's been super supportive throughout my journey, everyone who's seen me grow and have appreciated the things that I do and given me constructive criticism. It has really helped me to become better at what I do, so thanks a lot. It means a lot to me to read all the things that you guys send in every day. I hope we can keep the positive circle going and push everyone else to do all the things that they want to do.